And welcome to Watkins, Glen, standing alongside a driver who's not yet ready for the cockpit, but we're delighted to have with us for his debut on Speed Vision, Jeremy Dale. And first of all, Jeremy, tell me about the physical condition after that devastating crash a year ago at Road Atlanta.
Well, things are coming along nicely. It's been a long year, and but I've had great care and hoping towards the fall to get back into a car and do some testing.
Well, you know, this racetrack has probably hosted more laps in this series than any other track in the country.
Yeah, these guys love this racetrack. They used to run a 24-hour IMSA endurance race here with these cars, and they haven't done that in a few years, but many of these guys have been in this series for many years, and they really enjoy this racetrack. And the other great thing is Watkins Glen is always making improvements to the racetrack, and the racetrack's never been in better shape.
By comparison, 3 hours is a sprint race, but still we anticipate lots of pit activity, so we have 2 reporters covering the pit action. One is veteran Greg Creamer.
Well, gentlemen, you know the nature of showroom stock racing in the IMSA Endurance Championship, generally incredibly close. You had something of a remarkable streak we're seeing develop here. This number 70 Speed Source Mazda, 3rd consecutive pole in the hands of the driver Sylvain Tremblay. Sylvain, it's been a great run for you, and qualifying in particular.
It sure has. Qualifying is really special for me. It's just, it's our chance to just go out and just do what you have to do. You don't have to worry about conserving, which is a big thing for us. We need to conserve a lot of stuff on these cars. You don't have to conserve the tires. All you need is one hot, incredible lap, and somehow, we pulled one off yesterday. With the wet and the dry and the black flag, it was really screwy there for a while, and we had one lap to pull it off, and I was 3rd before the black flag, and we pull it out somehow, and we're happy to be sitting up front again.
Haven't had a win since Road Atlanta. What do you have to do in the race now to bring home the checker?
This series is so tough. There's so many good guys. I mean, a miracle is what we need, but I think we're going to really work on saving the car and fuel mileage. Fuel mileage is our biggest concern. The Mazda's awfully fast, but, it takes a lot of fuel, so we're going to try to conserve, try to have a conservative pace, and hopefully people can just run with us and they don't run away, so we don't have to catch up at the end. We'll see how it all works out at the end of the race. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again.
Well, he knows it's fast, but they want that second win on the season, Gary.
And also joining us in the pit lane will be Calvin Fish. So we'll take this break from Watkins Glen, come back and give you the starting lineup and start the 3-hour endurance.
It's a battle of man against machine and driver against driver, but in the end it's an all-out war against the starting line and the finish line. Field drag racing spill, chills and fury in Diamond P Sports chasing the lights. A look at the competition and competitors who brave a quarter mile of pavement in the pursuit of winning. Chasing the lights takes you higher and faster than you've ever been. Experience the action for just $19.95. To order, call 1-800-651-8989 or write you the address on your screen. Watch it once and you'll know why they call it Chasing the Lights.
You can see the cars are now on the track. We are ready for the 3-hour endurance race, the IMSA Endurance Championship here at Watkins Glen. As we'll take a look now at the starting lineup. They qualified yesterday. In fact, the first part of the qualifying session was in the dry, and then it rained, which meant we had some guys scrambled somewhat. Some guys starting up toward the front that perhaps normally would not be because of the qualifying situation. Joe Vardy will start from the pole in number 70. Sean Hendricks, the winner of the last outing at Texas World, will start outside the front row. In the second row, Stu Hainer, number 32. Conway will go outside in number 2. Then in the third row, it's Cat Teasdale in number 1. Martini going outside in number 62. In row 4, Fairbanks in 01 and Smith in 47. In the 5th row on the inside, Cochran in number 3. Outside is number 77, Baxter. In the 6th row on the inside, Weinberg in 33. A Mustang Cobra of Borcheller outside in 54. In the 7th row, Knowles will start inside in the Formula Firebird in number 5. Outside, Long High in number 53. In the 8th row on the inside, Dittmer in 74. And outside number 72 is White. In the 9th row on the inside, Mountain number 7 in the Mazda RX-7 Turbo. The Porsche 968 of Fitzgerald outside. And then row 10 on the inside is Singer in 73. Outside is Green in 38. Green's the fast qualifier for the touring class.
So that's the big surprise on this grid. And as you mentioned, we had the wet conditions yesterday, and that touring car ended up in 20th position right behind the Grand Sports cars. And of course, that was a big surprise. Of course, our leading qualifier in sports is the number 9 car, and that is a BMW 328. And that car really should have been up ahead of that touring car of John Green and Terry Irwood. But as we said, we had the weather problems yesterday. And of course, the leading compact car, which is in 34th position, is the Nissan 240 SX.
As we take a look at the rest of the starting lineup, 76 cars in all. 40 of those are the Grand Sports. We have 13 in the touring class, so a lot of traffic, although this is a very long racetrack at 3.37 miles in length, 11 turns. We'll take a look now at this racetrack in beautiful Watkins Glen, the burg of Watkins Glen, and there it is. Now, there are actually two racetracks. They're using the boot down here, which makes it a much longer track.
Yeah, Gary, you can see the chicane there at turn 4. This is a real driver's track. The Winston Cup cars and the NASCAR cars, they use the short version there. You can see the little connection there. But in road racing, we use the long circuit here, and they call that the boot. Very good section of racetrack, and of course, lots of elevation changes at this racetrack. A real driver's circuit.
Strategy. 3 hours, a short race by comparison, but what kind of strategy? You wait till, as you take a look there at the 3 hour length of the race, there's your pole speed. Do you wait perhaps and just kind of stay in contact with the leaders until the last hour?
I think these guys will be able to count on yellow flags in this race with 70-odd cars in this event. There will be full course cautions. So I think for most of these guys to stay on the lead lap in their class, and that gets tricky for the cars in the slower classes, staying on the lead lap. It's very important to stay on the lead lap, conserve the car, not use up the brakes. These guys don't want to do a brake pad change or anything during this race. So there is some conservation that needs to happen.
Some cars have as many as 4 drivers, some only 2. And we talk about the Hendricks car that won a couple of weeks back at Texas World Speedway. Sean Hendricks pairing with a new partner, although I shouldn't say a new partner, a different partner for this weekend.
Yeah, I prefer the, in a race like this, I would prefer to have just one other driver. I think that that's probably the way to go in this short event. Where you can have better communication with that other driver, and there's less confusion, and it just makes the whole event a lot simpler.
Yeah, we had a view there of the Mustang, the first win for the Ford Mustang at Texas World Speedway the first weekend in May. This is a very taxing racetrack, very high speed in the corner, generating a lot of G-load on the drivers, very physically demanding.
Yeah, I think that Mustang has definitely got some horsepower, and that really helped it in Texas. This is a more complete racetrack.
Joe Vardy will have the pole position in the car that was qualified by Sylvain Tremblay, his teammate, and look at him go 4-5 wide down this long front straightaway. And it looks like Joe Vardy, who now lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, will have the lead going into turn 1. And Cat Teasdale right behind him.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Watkins Glen. You can see the width of that front straightaway. We've got a little problem here. Not a big surprise into turn 1 with 70 race cars to have someone off the racetrack. But as I was saying, the width of the racetrack really makes the racing great here. It means cars can go 3 and 4 wide into braking zones, and that makes for some great racing.
With 4 classes in this one overall race, do these guys have to watch their mirrors as well as drive out in front of the nose?
Well, absolutely, especially for the slowest cars in the compact class. These Grand Sports cars are probably about 140 miles an hour at the end of the straight. Big accident here in one of the Grand
car has backed into the tire barrier.
Yeah, and that is turn 1 there.
Jerry Thompson.
And as I said, not a big surprise. Not a big surprise to have an incident in the first turn of a race with 70-odd race cars. It looks like he's just fine. That car is a mess.
Heavy damage, though, in the rear of that car as he climbs out and walks away. And as we take a look at that action now, let's introduce to you Jeff Perner, who has joined us here in the broadcast booth, the winner here in 1990 in the 90-minute race. You talk about a sprint race. That one was a short one.
Absolutely, Gary. That was a great race. We had a good time. That was definitely a race where you just went flat out the whole way. And I think these guys here, even in this 3 hour, are going to be doing the same thing.
Well, you can see the action up at the front of the pack. And again, we talk about strategy. Let's talk about what your strategy might be if you were out there on the racetrack with a 3-hour event.
Well, you need to always conserve, as Jeremy said, and you always want to keep in mind that if you run too hard, the brakes are going to give up on you, and tires as well.
Well, we can see some waving going on right there. The safety car is going to go out on the racetrack after that heavy contact with the tire barrier. So you can see the cars are now falling off the pace just a bit.
Yeah, that 08 car that crashed in turn 1, that car was in a real target zone there, and they do need to get that car out of that target zone and make sure there's no damage to the barrier and so on. So just better to go full course yellow here, get the car out, and get back to racing.
We talked about the win by Sean Hendricks, and more is said at Texas World Speedway. The Mustang went 6 hours without a change of brakes. That really gave them the victory. How demanding is this racetrack on brakes?
I would say this racetrack is much more demanding on brakes than a place like Texas. You know, about 60% of that racetrack is full throttle, and I think that was a big advantage for the Mustang. This racetrack is very tough on brakes. You've got a lot of hard braking zones. Back into that chicane, into the toe of the boot, it's real tough on brakes.
Well, we continue under yellow after that heavy contact with the wall. There's a look at your top 4 as the race continues under yellow here at Watkins Glen.
Have fun in the sun. Participate in America's largest car and truck show series. Enter your vehicle today, only at the Street Machine and Hot Rod Nationals. Be a part of the fun this season. Enter your car and truck today by calling 317-236-6522. Join thousands of your friends, trading ideas and carousing across America. Get a free newsletter subscription, plus event passes for 2 and more. Be a winner. Join the party. Call 317-236-6522. Avoid the late fees with this TV offer. Call 317-236-6522. Have fun in the sun. Participate in America's largest car and truck show series. Enter your truck today, only at the 4-Wheel Jamboree Nationals. Be a part of the fun this season. Enter your truck today by calling 317-236-6522. Join thousands of your friends, trading ideas and carousing across America. Get a free newsletter subscription, plus event passes for 2 and more. Be a winner. Join the party. Call 317-236-6522. Avoid the late fees with this TV offer. Call 317-236-6522.
From the spiritual home of motor racing, it's the British Touring Car Championship, exclusively on Speed Vision. Join us for every race in the most competitive major international racing series in the world.
Well, back for the IMSA Endurance Championship at the Glen. Big incident down in the first corner in the opening lap. Checked in with the crew of the driver of the number 08 Pontiac Firebird Formula. Of course, Jerry Thompson, the driver on board, they said they really don't know exactly what happened. He lost it. He lost it big into the barriers, big damage in the back of the car. They've taken him to the medical clinic just for a checkup. It appears he's going to be fine. That's standard operating procedure. But again, big developments here. It was a pack going down into turn 1. Now let's move a little bit further down pit lane and talk to Calvin Fish.
Greg, I'm here in the pit of TI Racing. You run John Green, and John has an incredible finishing streak going on 45 races now. He's teamed up with Terry Airwood. They sit on the pole for the touring car class, and Terry's out there. He hopefully wants to turn it over in the lead to John, and John's going to see if he can extend this streak, which has now gone on some 6 years. An incredible run. Let's see how he does today. Back to you in the booth, Gary.
Well, of course, we welcome you, Calvin Fish, to our broadcast as we take a look at the number 38 car. John has won 23 times in IMSA competition. His teammate, Terry Airwood, 26 times. So between the two, they've seen victory lane a whole lot of times.
Yeah, and actually, I was in on a number of those victories with Terry when we both raced for Paul Rossi for Dodge and Eagle. And Terry's a fantastic racer, does a great job.
00 in the pit lane. Bart Hayes in a Grand Sport car. We've also had under the yellow a black flag being displayed for the number 19, Bob Speakman. He was spilling fuel because the gas cap was not attached, so he could probably slap the hand of one of the crew members there. And a stuck throttle being reported on Rick Fairbanks, number 01. So a lot of pit activity already.
Well, that's not unusual. You know, sometimes during a weekend like this, things are kind of rushed. You have a number of different classes competing here. So you try to be as, as efficient with your time as you can, and sometimes things are overlooked, unfortunately. The situation with the gas cap is that, it just seems like a small detail, but unfortunately it happened.
There is that inner loop, they call it. We call it a chicane, and basically it was just created to slow the cars down before they got to a very dangerous corner.
Yeah, that's actually a very fast section of racetrack. Most of these cars would use 3rd or 4th gear there. And you can call it a chicane, and it certainly does slow the cars down, but it's a very quick section of racetrack.
Now that leads into turn number 5, and that leads on into the boot area. So we continue under yellow here at Watkins Glen. Come back with more for IMSA action.
Like the roar of 1,000 freight trains, tornadoes are nature's most violent storm. Now, for the first time, you can experience 46 incredible twisters in one heart-stopping home video. Tornadoes, the entity. This incredible 1-hour video brings you rare and terrifying footage recorded live through the shaky viewfinders of awestruck amateurs. You'll live through a full 9 minutes of the infamous 1991 Andover, Kansas killer tornado as it passes within 100 yards of the camera. Plus, exclusive stop-action editing reveals funnel center lightning as you've never seen before. At just $29.95 plus shipping, Tornadoes the Entity is one video cassette you can't afford to miss. Here's how to order.
Use your credit card and call 1-800-321-6500 for Tornadoes the Entity, only $29.95 plus shipping. Don't miss this special TV offer to own 46 of the most dramatic tornado videos ever recorded. Order now. Call 1-800-321-6500.
The lights are out on the pace car. We should get a start the next time by the flag stand as the Joe Vardy Sylvain Tremblay car continues to lead. Cat Teasdale rides in second at number 1. Number 2, Conway is now third, and Hayner now is fourth. You take a look at the top 8 there with Hendricks, Cochran, Walton, and Stewart. As I think we can show you the top 12 so far as we get ready for the restart. Once again, your leader from the pole position, Joe Vardy, a winner of 22 of these events, although his teammate Sylvain Tremblay qualified for the pole, as we told you earlier, his 3rd straight pole position. With this type of competition, that's impressive.
Yeah, and that's one of only 2 Mazda RX-7 turbos in this race. And those cars are well represented here, certainly being on the pole.
You can see the front end of the car there that's in second place. That's number 1 car with
Teasdale's in it right now.
Teasdale, yes, driving yesterday. Andy Pilgrim got in a wreck there in qualifying and tore it up pretty good. The crew was up all night putting it back together. It looks like they've done a great job because they're up to second place already.
Well, as we documented, qualifying began yesterday in dry conditions. Then a torrential rain came in. The guys had to change the rain tires, so we had some very fast laps early. Then the speeds dropped off as the green flag flies were racing once again. A restart at lap 6. We're not going by laps, though. We're going by time. Looks like we have a drag race down the front stretch, and look at all this smoke.
Looks like possibly a turbo has let go. I'm not quite sure. I have to see if he starts to lose some power. He still has his foot in, and it's going right up the tail of Teasdale. Again, a little puff of smoke as the shift was made. You have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that does not look good 10 minutes into a 3-hour race. These turbochargers, once they start to leak oil and blow smoke, it's not a good recipe.
As they work up through the S's to the backstretch. Of course, the backstretch will lead on to that inner loop we talked about earlier. But right now, Cat Teasdale, who's been a victor twice in this competition, now leads Joe Vardy through that inner loop.
Yeah, and this is a great area. Coming down this back straight, you can do a little bit of drafting there and a fairly intense braking zone there coming into the inner loop, and it gives these guys an excellent opportunity to do some passing.
Oh, absolutely, Jeremy. It's a great place to do passing there at the end of the back straight coming up into the chicane.
And you can see, I'm sorry, Jeff, you can see this section of racetrack has been resurfaced recently. These guys having a good battle coming down into turn 6.
Stu Hayner on the inside of Conway there, and there's a textbook pass. Now he's going to try to out-drag race him down the straightaway.
Now, a couple of years ago, that might have been a much tougher pass down in there. That section of racetrack used to be very bumpy, very unsettling for the race cars, and I think anyone that's ever driven a race car at Watkins Glen really appreciates that repaving down into turn 6.
You know, almost to the driver, they call this their favorite track. What makes this track so enjoyable for the competitor?
Well, for me, it's just the variety of turns out here. I like the fast turns, the elevation changes. Those are things I think that makes it real challenging out there, and probably aspects that I think everyone would consider as far as making it a good, track for racing as well.
Well, and of course, there's a real sense of history associated with Watkins Glen in terms of road racing. You see a car dropping a wheel there at the exit of turn 9. There's a real sense of history at Watkins Glen, and I think just coming to Watkins Glen is a magical thing for anyone that's really into road racing.
And of course, there's so much elevation change here. You really can't appreciate it from watching on television. But once you're in the race car, the track really drops off on occasion.
Now, it's like a roller coaster out there at times. I tell you, you really get a real appreciation for it.
Down the front stretch into turn 1, and once again, Vardy goes to the inside of Cat Teasdale, takes the lead. Here comes Sean Hendricks, and again, we see that smoke. That's really disconcerting when you're following a corner and you see all that smoke.
Well, actually the thing that Teasdale needs to be doing right now, she just needs to be being cautious, just kind of playing it out right now, because it looks like this Mazda may not last.
Back there in third is the Sean Hendricks Ford Mustang, and Conway's back there in fourth in that red number 2. Then it's Stu Hayner in that black and yellow number 32. Oh, we got a crash. You can see the damage to one of the cars back there. A heavy, heavy contact.
Yeah,
Number
this looks
46
like the,
car.
This looks like the exit of turn 11, and that's a very common accident here at Watkins Glen. This car probably got up on the curbing, leaving turn 11 and hooked back to the inside wall there, and you can see the driver's getting out under his own power. So
Kevin Caffrey is the driver. There are going to be some fans disappointed because the co-driver of that car is Jason Priestley, the television star, and some of the fans want to see him compete this afternoon. That won't happen. That car's out of the race. So you can see that the driver walks away, apparently uninjured. Kevin under some attention there from the medical crew after some heavy, heavy contact. But he'll have a chance to get checked out and catch his breath and knock the cobwebs out.
Yeah, we've seen that before. What happens is the drivers come off of the last turn and drop over the outside edge and end up hooking back across the road into the entrance of the pits there. Very hazardous situation if that does occur. You need to be very careful with that when getting the wheels off the edge of the road and coming back on.
You can see the damage to the race car, the debris on the racetrack. So I'm not sure if we went to a localized yellow there or a full course yellow. Apparently a full course yellow because that comes out of that last corner on turn 11. So we'll take this time to clean up the track out of the yellow. We'll come back and go racing.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Patrick, your host for Auto Week on Speed Vision, inviting you to join us each and every Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern Time for the latest in automotive news, reviews, and previews right here on Speed Vision.
We continue under yellow here at Watkins Glen as we take a look at the top runners right now. Again, it's still Joe Vardy out in front, showing some smoke early on. And Sean Hendricks in second, Cat Teasdale in third. Conway is in fourth position. So we should have a start this time around. As you take a look at the rest of the top 8. Reason for the yellow, the 46 Mustang of Kevin Caffrey brought out the yellow as he slammed the inside wall just off of turn 11 at the head of the front straightaway. So he was being checked out at the care center. Some of the damage to the race car, but we should get a green this time by. A lot of yellows early on, and you made an interesting remark early about the qualifying yesterday in the rain may have contributed to that.
Yeah, I think it probably juggled this field in a way that was unexpected in terms of some slower cars being closer to the front, some of the quicker cars being closer to the back. So we're finding here in the early going that there's probably a lot more passing going on than there normally would be. There's a little rubbing going on there. And so we're now green. And these single file restarts should be a little bit more tame. You can see Joe Vardy has a good lead in turn 1 here, but a lot of jockeying behind him.
Well, I'll tell you what, our broadcast booth is starting to look like a driver's meeting because we have Jeremy Dale up here, we have Jeff Turner up here, we've been joined by Johnny O'Connor. Welcome, Johnny.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You know, you gave me such a hard time at Texas when I didn't stop by and say hello to you.
Right.
That I figured I at least had to come over and say hi.
Well, once again, our observation has been perhaps qualifying yesterday, partly in the dry, partly in the wet, shuffling start lineup and contributing to the yellows early on.
Well, yeah, that's very true. But also, I mean, you've got, you know, at the start of a race, everyone's always trying to gain that easy position because everyone right now is running so close together that, and especially with a field this big, I mean, there we got a problem right there.
Right in the middle of the pack, car number 41, Bill Pate.
And this is another problem at turn 3 at the top of the S's, which we don't have to tell Johnny about having problems at turn 3. That's not where you want to be sitting stationary right there.
Or coming up the hill with someone sitting stationary.
Yeah, it looks like this car may have touched the barrier on the way up the hill. Maybe it got pushed off the racetrack. It looks like it's got some damage.
Fortunately, it probably happened in the back of the pack or towards the back, so no one else seemed to get involved. Hey, we got one of the Dave White racing cars off on the track over to the side. Looks like it's out of the way, but he's in trouble there.
So we've had action all over this racetrack that continues to slow the pace.
Making it hard, really, to go out and set a rhythm. Everyone right now, every time we have a restart, is just run as hard as they can, trying to break away from the pack. And because of that, running so hard, I think that that's why we're having some problems here.
Now, of course, the guys that are loving this are the guys that have the fuel consumption problems. You know, now we spent about 30 minutes under yellow. So quite a bit of yellow time, and that will change pit strategy for a number of these teams.
Most of the teams are what, making 2 stops? perhaps as many as 3?
Yes, 2 to 3 stops. I mean, the Mazda has an incredible problem with fuel economy. It's a very fast car, but really uses up the fuel. The Mustangs and the Firebirds also have that problem. Now, a car like the Porsche, that gets great gas mileage. They're hoping that the race would go green the whole way. And obviously, that's not going to happen here. So this may play out really to the advantage for the Mustang and the Pontiacs.
Nonamaker, we understand, was in that car and not paid, so Nonamaker is okay surveying the damage as the car comes to rest out in the middle of the groove. And what we're seeing are not localized yellows. We're going full course yellows with these problems.
Well, this is absolutely a place where you've got to go full course. Yeah, you've got to go full course yellow at the top of the hill there, because it's completely blind as you come up the hill. So I think we were probably very, very lucky not to have another car hit this car. I mean, that's pretty remarkable in a field of 70 cars, even though this happened towards the back of the field.
So it was Joe Nonamaker. He is okay, standing along the driver's side of that race car as the pace car brings the field by through turn 3. We remain under a full course yellow, and as you indicated, very difficult to establish a rhythm early on in the race because we have a lap or 2 under green, then we go right back to a full course yellow.
Yeah, it's really taken away from the excitement of the race. You know, you go out there, you run a couple of hard laps, and then we go back to a full course yellow. So kind of aggravating from a driver's point of view.
And you can see how slowly they're bunched up going by as it's beautiful countryside here in Western New York. We'll come back and hopefully turn them loose and go racing.
Fed up with sports on strike? Don't hurt your head over it. Strike back with a sports video collection that'll be a smash in your home for years to come. The totally awesome sports collection from ChoiceMart. 5 incredible sports videos for just $19.95. Just $19.95 and you get Sports Blooper Mania, the lighter side of baseball, incredible plays, pro sports bloopers, and amazing superstars. 5 different tapes with exclusive footage, much of it never before seen on TV. You'll laugh, you'll cheer, you'll cringe. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. It's not available anywhere else, so get your credit card ready, pick up the phone, and call now.
Call 1-800-626-1300 now to get the totally awesome sports collection for you or your favorite sports fan. 5 incredible videos for one low price of $19.95 and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 1-800-626-1300 now.
As we take a look at the overall standings now, with about 2 minutes and 2 hours and 1 minute remaining, you can see the Tremblay Vardy Mazda continues to lead. But let's take a look now. That's the Grand Sports, as I think we have time now to show you all the top runners from all 4 of the divisions in the sports class. There's the number 51 BMW is leading. Take a look at the top 4 there. We'll take a look now at the Touring and the Compact. Well, there's the Touring. In fact, we'll talk to Terry Irwood momentarily. He was the fast qualifier. John Green is now in that car. And there's the Compact leaders right now. As we continue on with 2 hours to go, let's go trackside. And Greg Creamer is standing by with the driver that put that car on the pole in his class and has that car out in front. Greg?
Thanks, Gary. By my watch, almost 59 minutes into a 3-hour race. And Terry, a relatively early pit stop for you guys thinking about fuel?
We're hoping to go to the end. You know, we had to go 45 minutes to get points, and so we went 47 minutes. And if we can, you know, stick John Green in the car, top up the gas, with just one more caution, I know we can go to the end. So we're gambling that the car will go 2 hours and 9 minutes on a tank. It'll go 2 hours on a good day, and John Green is a master at gas mileage. So we're going to gamble on it. The only way we can get hurt on this deal is if the overall leader comes back and catches us, and then there's a full course yellow. We go a lap down. But if the overall leader doesn't catch us, then we'll slowly move our way back up front as the other cars have to come in and get gas. I just saw 2 of our competitors come in and get gas, so now they're back behind us again. So with only 2 exceptions, I think we're of course, I couldn't spell strategy 3 weeks ago, so we'll know more here in about 2 hours.
Well, and again, Calvin already talked about the tremendous reliability and finishing record of this team. Don't count them out.
Yeah, in fact, the last DNF this team had was 1990 at Road Atlanta. They've gone 45 races without a DNF, and this guy knows how to conserve the fuel. In fact, he's won already this season. He won at Texas World, John Green, the last time out, so he's in a good position right now.
Well, and of course, that kind of finishing record says so much about the quality of the drivers and the quality of the team in terms of preparation, because as we've already seen in this race, you know, incidents from car to car are not that uncommon, and these full course yellows are caused by these incidents. So for these guys to come through with that kind of finishing record is really remarkable.
You call nose to tail as they came out of the boot there. They head into turn 10, and there's the green flag. Restart with about 2 hours of competition to go here at Watkins Glen. Now, hopefully we can do some racing. And once again, we see that Vardy Tremblay car out in front. And then the Sean Hendricks white Mustang that won at Texas World riding in second. A battle for fourth position. That is Teasdale on the inside, number 1, and Stu Hainer on the high side in the black and yellow, number 32. And Teasdale hangs on. In fact, she was victorious here overall last year to become the first lady to win the competition in this class.
Yeah, and this team certainly knows how to prepare these Firebirds. They've been around. They've won a lot of races. They know how to do this. And, you know their strategy will be spot on. You can see Catherine Teasdale a little defensive there into the chicane, trying to hold back those cars behind her. But you know their strategy will be spot on, and they'll get this right.
We heard a report earlier when we saw that white smoke coming from the 70 Mazda. Perhaps they just overfilled the oil, a little belching of smoke, and it'll dissipate, and there's no mechanical problem.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like that car is having a problem now with oil.
Pass for fourth place. Hainer on the inside makes the move, slides back up in front of Cat Teasdale, and takes that position.
And you can see now Stu Hainer into the toe of the boot here, running up the middle of the road, being a little bit defensive there into the toe of the boot. You can see how evenly matched these cars are. They're really close.
From a strategy standpoint, guys, do you want to battle with somebody for a position this early in the race? Granted, we've had a lot of yellows, but still 2 hours to go. If you're battling for position and get taken out, the race is over.
Well, I think part of being a good driver, or even a great race car driver, is, number one, knowing how to go fast, but also how to make the equipment last. A lot of people out there who can run real quick, but they always seem to be finding themselves in trouble or what have you. I think what they're going to need to do here today as far as strategy is by looking at it, now, point of view, we only have about 2 hours or so to race. If it goes green the whole way, or even if we have a couple of more yellows, it's really going to start changing the complexion of things. And we're going to have to just see what happens here. I think
we talked a lot about the fuel situation with the long yellows. Let's go back to the pit lane, and Calvin Fish, I think you've been doing some calculating down there.
Well, Gary, we've already seen the fuel consumption and strategy play out with the touring class. We saw Terry Airwood come in early. And in the Grand Sports class, I just spoke to Ed O'Neill, who's a crew chief, Stu Hainer's car, and he said that they're already in the window. They believe they can run to 1 hour and 45, and that will put them on for a one-stop race, and then they'll be able to go the right way. John Heinrich will take over that car, and that should really put them in for a strong position at the end of this one.
So a one-stop race, perhaps. So all these yellows playing into the hands of those teams that have to make 2 or 3 stops, but not to the Porsches that could go on one over.
Yeah, this is really going to hurt the Porsches or any of the cars, and really any of the classes that really have good fuel economy, but perhaps aren't as quick. So you're going to see these fast cars now that fuel economy may not be an issue, really changing their strategy.
Well, there's the 03 car off the racetrack. Chuck Cottrell, remember there was a big crash at Atlanta in that big rainstorm. That's the car that replaced the car that was so badly damaged there, and it is off to the side and out of harm's way, and the yellow does not come out, at least a full course yellow, so the race does continue.
Yeah, this may be a situation where we don't need a full course yellow, and we can just go with local yellow there to prevent passing in that zone for safety reasons, obviously. And that would really be a benefit at this stage, because I think these guys have run enough under full course yellow. They don't want to do that anymore.
How much does the weather forecast play into strategy? We still have a chance of some showers and thunderstorms as the heat and humidity starts to rise, and we could have a pop-up thunderstorm. That could change everything.
Well, I guess it's one of those things you always have to take into consideration here. And by the looks of things, I think the idea right now is just run as hard as you can, and just really looks like they're going for it out there, using all the road, as you can tell. And hopefully these yellows aren't going to determine the outcome of the race. It looks like that BMW of Cottrell, the Genesis Racing car, pulled off and out of the way, so hopefully we won't see a local yellow there.
Well, and also with the yellows that we've had, they've kept the pack bunched up, so your leaders really have no traffic to contend with.
Yeah, at this point it's just green flag racing with no lap cars. There's still some sorting out that would be happening further back in the field here, but all these Grand Sport cars at the front are getting themselves sorted out, finding a pace that's comfortable for them. But as Jeff said, now they can probably run a little bit harder. Here's one of the Mazda Miatas that seems to have gone off course. Looks like it's got a little bit of damage there on the right side.
Bud Schramm in the 96 car off to the side of the corner there.
Yeah, that looks like the exit of the toe of the boot down there. Big elevation change there coming up the hill. We've seen a lot of cars trying to outbrake one another into the toe of the boot there, so maybe he got together with another car.
You know, you stay pretty busy in the cockpit on this racetrack. Where, as a driver, can you really relax just a bit?
Well, you know, before the chicane was put in, or the inner loop, as it's called, back straight was a bit longer then, obviously, and that gave you a bit of a chance. It's still, anytime you get to a straightaway, you're going to try to, you know, take a deep breath there, relax your hands on the steering wheel, take a good look at your gauges and so forth, and just you know, try to relax the best you can. I mean, you know, being able to, you know, go the distance out here and, you know, it's going to require you to be relaxed behind the wheel.
Hearing the voices of Jeff Perner and Jeremy Dale here in the broadcast booth, did I hear you guys say when we were talking to Terry Earwood that he was your instructor when you guys first began racing?
Yeah, Jeff and I both started out with the Skip Barber organization, racing in their series and going to their racing schools, and Terry was one of our instructors at that time.
So always be nice to your students, because you never know when they might be on television announcing your racing. As we take a look at your field summary right there, 4 classes running together here at Watkins Glen on a 3.37 mile, 11 turn road course, and because of all the yellows that we've had, that kept the field fairly well bunched up. What I like here is all the different brands of cars we have here, and a real good mix-up. It's really great to see all the competition. The IMSA does a great job of equalizing these cars in terms of speed and weight and competitiveness, and we can see there's a local yellow there, and it looks like we are in fact going to go full course yellow for either the 96 car, like the 96 car off the side of the turn there. So once again, another full course yellow as we'll check on the driver's condition. You can see the gap that opened up between first and second, and second and third. There's the 4th yellow, the 4th full course yellow of the day as we continue through our field summary. And this is now playing in, as Terry Earwood would say, this will play into their hands. He said for sure with one more yellow, their Honda Prelude would be able to go to the end, and they're definitely contenders in their class without question. So this will play into their hands, and that strategy of theirs to stop is looking pretty good at this stage. The race has gone on now. I call it a race. The event has gone on for more than an hour. We've only had a few minutes of green light running, but theoretically at this time in the race, these cars should really be strung out all over this racetrack, and traffic really should not be that much of a problem. But with all the yellows we've had, it's kept the field all bunched up. So there is the reason for the full course yellow, the 4th of the day. So the pace car will pick them up, we'll bunch them up and come back and hopefully go racing. As you can see, the cars are very slow behind the pace car because the full course yellow continues here at Watkins Glen. And hopefully in another lap or so we can turn them loose and go racing again. Bud Schramm brought out the yellow when he wrecked his Mazda. Watkins Glen International is the continuation of a road racing tradition dating back to 1948 when the sports cars ran on a 6.6 mile course to the village of Watkins Glen, nestled at the foot of Seneca Lake in the scenic New York Finger Lakes region. Law student Cameron Arsinger dreamed of bringing European-style competition to the village where he spent his summer vacations. That dream became a reality on October 2nd, 1948, the day they stopped the trains in the first post-World War II road race in the U.S. For 5 years, the top names in American sports car racing came to the Glen, and huge crowds turned out to watch them. Competition moved to a temporary course in 1953, with a 2.3 mile permanent circuit being built in 1956. The following year, the Glen hosted its first professional race, a NASCAR Grand National Stock Car event won by Buck Baker. The series returned twice in the 60s, but the best was yet to come. The magical names of Brabham, Clark, Gurney, Hill, Stewart, Ferrari, and Lotus turned the focus of racing at Watkins Glen to one of glamour and international cult status with the arrival of Formula One in 1961. The U.S. Grand Prix became an annual rite of fall at the circuit for almost 20 years. great battles among the legends of the sport filled the Glen scrapbook. As seen here from 1967 U.S. Grand Prix won by Jimmy Clark. Alas, by 1980, Formula One racing in the scenic state of New York would come to an end. Financial difficulties led to the Glen date being dropped from the schedule. And along with bankruptcy, the stars went to race elsewhere when the track closed in 1981. The Glen reopened, however, in '84 after a partnership was formed between Corning Enterprises and International Speedway Corporation. The IMSA prototypes, headlined by Al Holbert, topped the bill, followed just 2 years later by the enormously successful return of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Over 88,000 fans witnessed Tim Richmond triumph in the Bud at the Glen. The Glen cemented its distinction as North America's fastest road course when in 1992, Davy Jones won the pole for the Camel Continental with a lap at over 150.3 miles per hour. And this year also marks the 6th consecutive season that the Busch Grand National Series has made the Glen a permanent road course stop. And in August, the anticipated debut of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will add yet another dimension to this popular and versatile racing circuit. From the picturesque setting to the exotic machines to crowds now boasting 150,000 strong, Watkins Glen continues its tradition as one of North America's premier racing venues. Indeed, gentlemen, a legendary racetrack. Do you have that feeling that you're racing on some hallowed ground when you come here to Watkins Glen?
Well, certainly, I tell you, this place has a lot of history, and just watching the footage here with you know, Jack Brabham and Jimmy Clark racing, it really does bring back a lot of memories, I imagine, for a lot of people. And we are on hallowed ground, without any doubt. I mean, this is a great place to race.
Yeah, as a young man, I came and I saw a few of those last Formula One races here in the late 70s, early 80s. And you know, that was all magical stuff. You just don't ever forget that. And so it's always been real special to me.
But Jeremy, realistically, this is not very far from home for you. So you're about, what, 4-hour drive from home. So you come here as a youngster and watch all the action. Still under yellow. We come back and hopefully go racing at Watkins Glen. As we take a look now under yellow, the running order of the top guys and gals here at the IMSA Endurance Championship at Watkins Glen. And there's the time remaining, just over an hour and a half with the, take a look at the top 8, now the top 12 as they still circulate under the yellow. Hopefully we'll get the green the next time by. I believe the lights are on the pace car, guys, so we should go green, and hopefully we can do some racing here. The problem was Bud Schramm had an altercation out there. We're not sure really what happened because there was not that much damage to the race car, but he's been taken to the infield medical facility for observation. So hopefully later on we will pass along exactly what the physical problem may be, but very little damage to the race car.
Yeah, and we've raced here for almost 90 minutes, which is about half distance. And of course, none of these leading cars have stopped for fuel yet. So as we discussed earlier, most of these guys will be able to make this on one stop. So that's going to even the score for a lot of the cars at the front. We don't know about that Mazda RX-7 that's leading because we know it uses more fuel than the Firebirds and the Mustangs, but that'll be interesting. Another interesting note about these restarts, you can see these guys back in the pack passing already, even though they haven't reached the start-finish line. As soon as that green flag comes out, no matter where you are in the field, you can start passing. So there's plenty of racing going on behind these guys already.
That's right, Jeremy. What the crew chief will be doing is radioing to their driver who may be in the back that the green is out, and racing begins when the green flag comes out.
Well, you can see the gap now between first and second and third. They ran about, what, 3, 4, 5 laps under green before the most recent yellow, which developed a bit of a rhythm and gave Joe Vardy a chance to put some daylight between his position and that of Sean Hendricks. Of course, that all evaporated with the full course yellow.
Yeah, and you can see he's not having a big problem stretching out a bit of a lead here. You can see he's coming up on a slower car that must have just stopped in the pits. And so that'll officially, I guess, be the first car that gets lapped in this race.
Vardy, a long-time runner out of the Tampa, Florida area, now has moved to the Charlotte area to help oversee a Busch Grand National ride for Stan Barrett. But unfortunately, the team is without sponsorship, and they parked the car right now. So he's driving in IMSA competition on weekends and also overseeing the Busch Grand National ride.
Yeah, Joe Vardy has been driving in IMSA for as long as I can remember, has always been at or close to the front in whatever he's driven. Always done a good job, and so not a big surprise to see him run.
He has 22 wins overall, one this year already. He and his teammate Sylvain Tremblay victorious at Road Atlanta in a race that was marred by a whole lot of rain and a whole lot of crashing.
Yeah, that was certainly a short event there. The rain put a halt to the race, and again, you know, these guys want to get out there and run, and you know, Joe is trying to stretch it out the best that he can, hoping that it stays green, and put a little margin between the cars there. That'll give him an opportunity, just in case he has to make a stop under green, to you know, try to not fall back too many spots.
You see Greg Conway there in the red #2 Firebird. He begins to close in and perhaps set up a battle for second position. And Jeff Berner, if we see a couple of guys start to battle for second position, that will really allow your leader to put more distance between them.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, Joe's just going to be able to stretch it out. Those guys are going to be slowing each other down a little bit, you know, as they're battling, you know, perhaps taking the line away from one another as far as an efficient line through the corners would be concerned. And that's going to slow them up a little bit. So this is an opportunity for Joe to stretch it out even a little bit further.
Well, with this class, you certainly can watch them run 2 and almost 3 wide. Let's go back to the pit leg, Greg.
Gary, we talked about this fuel. We talked about the situation with the yellow flags. It's going to every class, and the car that was leading in combat number 65 has come in, made a stop. I'm with Mark Mitchell, the driver at the time, who got out. Mark, you guys think you can go to the finish easily now?
Absolutely. We've because of the fact that more than half the race has been run under yellows, we short shifted a lot during the yellows, and our economy went up about 80%, if you can believe that. So when I came in, it was still on full. So we did a splash and go. Driver changed, no tires, and we're confident we'll make it all the way now.
Leading when you came in, you guys have been quick all season. At Texas World, at the most recent round, you led almost 5 hours of that and had an engine let go. You guys want one?
Yeah, actually, we've been pretty much snake bit all year, and it's nice to get a little luck going your way sometimes, because you know it's a new team, a lot of talented people, all volunteer. It's just really nice to be up front, but it's not over yet.
I think he's hoping he doesn't see John Norris until the end of the race this time.
You made the comment about short shifting. For the neophyte, you guys explained short shifting.
Well, you know, any race car has an RPM limit, and of course all these cars would have different RPM limits. But under yellow flag situation, even under green flag racing situations, you can alter at what RPM you shift that car, and that'll affect the fuel mileage, sometimes in a very significant way. So what he would have been talking about there is running in a very high or a tall gear. Oh, here's a car sliding off at a...
Hang on, number 80, you heard the impact.
It's Scott Newman in that number 80 car, off quite hard, looked like at the toe of the boot, just went straight off under braking there.
Yeah, and you could see the car just did not slow down at all on that grass. It has been raining here the last day or so, and I'm sure that grass is a little bit damp, and the car just had no chance to slow down.
You could hear the impact. Now listen, as we watch the replay, listen to the impact as you saw the car get off the groove, into the grass, and then into the fence. Watch and listen. Pretty good shot. First with the left rear, and then slapped around and took the left front out.
Yeah, he sure hadn't taken a whole lot of speed off there coming into the toe of the boot. Now, unless that car can get rolling again, unfortunately, this will probably mean another full course yellow, but we won't know until the corner workers at the station there have assessed the situation and radioed back to race control.
You know, when we talk about the toe of the boot, there's a section of the racetrack which encompasses turns 6, 7, 8, and 9 that they call the boot. That's a section that, like the Winston Cup drivers, don't use, but most of the divisions, the sports car divisions, do use that section of the racetrack, which lengthens out this road course to almost 3.4 miles.
Yeah, that is the difference between the long course and the short course here at Watkins Glen. Of course, the Winston Cup cars and the Busch Grand National cars would run on the short course.
And a lot of elevation change in that area of the racetrack.
Yeah, a little bit of elevation change on the short course, but an awful lot of elevation change. Here's this area where that Mustang went off. A lot of elevation change. You see a very steep hill here going up on the short course, and we call the toe of the boot there, and now they head up to what we call the heel of the boot.
And Stu Hayner tucked in right behind the 2 car of Conway. Now Conway had a good battle going for that second position. That broke off, but look at this to the inside, and there is a change of position.
Yeah, and that was a fairly bold, fairly late move.
Slide job there.
You can see Stu slid up the inside. Now he's having to defend that position.
came in a little bit hot, made the pass, but then slid wide, and you might see a repass there as a result of that.
Once again, you're looking at the leader using all the racetrack, Joe Vardy, in the car that was qualified by his teammate. Here's the battle for back there in third position. Hayner rides in third and opens up about a 5-car length advantage over Conway. So once again, we're under green here at Watkins Glen. Take this break, come back with more racing action. Racing continues here at a beautiful racetrack in western New York. That is your leader. That is Joe Vardy leading the IMSA Endurance Championship right now with just over about an hour and 25 minutes to go. He goes through the inner loop, which we call the chicane, moving in to turn 5 now. Now he makes that right-hander. He'll head into what we call the boot, the left-hander into the boot.
And you can see there, as Joe was coming down the hill, the corner workers were holding out the yellow flag. So it looks like we've gone full course yellow here, and we're now getting to the port. The safety car is going to come out. It must be for that Mustang.
That was for the Newman crash that we witnessed about a lap or 2 back.
Yeah, right here at the toe of the boot, and so that will create more yellow flag situation. I think that's now starting to play into the hands of the guys in the RX-7 here, because we've had so much full course yellow running. And these guys really are the guys hurting on fuel economy, so it may play into their hands. Clearly, this car has the speed, but it doesn't have the fuel economy.
Let's go back to the pit lane and Calvin Fish.
Okay, well, I just spoke to Sylvain Tremblay, and 2 minutes ago he said they're going to wait until there's 1 hour to go before they bring the car in. That way they wouldn't have to stop again. But as we speak, he's putting his helmet on. It looks like they're going to put him in under the yellow and get Joe Vardy out of the car. Down a little bit further down pit lane, we have Stu Hayner's crew. They're getting ready for a stop there, and it will be John Heinrichs getting into that car. They will be able to go the rest of the way without another stop, full load of fuel, and they'll be ready to go till the checkered flag. Back to you guys in the booth.
So a bit of a change of strategy. They're going to wait till the last hour to bring Vardy in. That means 1 stop. Now they're coming under this yellow. Does that now mean 2 stops for this race team?
Well, not necessarily. You know, we've had so much yellow up to this point in this event that I'm sure they're counting on a little bit more yellow, but they don't want to take their chances and miss their opportunity to stop under yellow. So you have to gamble a little bit, stop under yellow while you know it's yellow, get the fuel in, get the driver change done, and then go back to green flag racing.
Well, here comes the driver change right here as Vardy is now in the pits.
Yeah, one of the things the driver is going to do is to kind of take a look at the incident that has occurred in the racetrack, and then that'll kind of determine when they make their stop.
Let's go back to the pit lane, Calvin.
Okay, here by the Vardy car, and the hood is up. They're putting oil in the engine. We did see some smoke early in the race. I spoke to Sylvain, and he said that that's normal procedure. They overfill the little car a little bit before the start, and now on all of the pit stops, they will be putting oil in. This is the rotary engine. It's oil injected, so it does tend to use a little bit, and looks like a routine stop other than that. And I'll throw it up to Greg, further up pit lane.
Thanks, Calvin. Right now, Cunningham is in the number 20 Steeda Mustang. It's down. Looks like they didn't do tires. They just topped it off. They literally jacked the right side of the car up as far as they could, poured as much fuel in as possible, and then sent the car out. It is underway. Sean Hendricks coming over the wall right now, put together another great drive. See if we can grab a quick word with him. Sean, how was it running out there?
The car was running great. Had so many cautions. Couldn't do a lot out there. But the Mazda had a little power on us, but our car's handling good. I think as the race goes on, we'll be in good shape.
We're more than an hour and a half in. You guys fine on fuel, I would assume, to the finish today?
I think we can. I don't know that for sure. We'll see.
Couldn't afford not to stop under the yellow and take the chance. This could be interesting at the end.
What I'm hearing, though, is I think. A lot of I think. These guys don't know. They're rolling the dice so they can go on 1 pit stop. They didn't change tires on the Mustang. They're going on the fact those tires will last and give them some good grip and traction for the rest of the race. We're rolling the dice and we don't really know.
Right, but you know, this race, the rhythm of this race up to this point has been a lot of yellow flags. We've got a huge field here, so I'm sure we'll get another yellow flag here. And you can see also this 20 car beat the Mazda, the leading Mazda, which is of course no longer leading, out of the pit lane. So that is that's an interesting development.
We're also being told the number 70 car a 10-second penalty for a fuel spill in the pit lane, and that right there was your leader under the yellow.
That's going to really hurt them. They're going to have to come back into the pits and for a 10-second penalty.
Let's go back to Calvin in the pit lane.
Okay, I'm here with Joe Vardy. Joe, I spoke to Sylvain just 2 minutes before that yellow, and he said you were going to try and go to 4 o'clock, so you only had an hour's running left, and then a change of strategy. Why was that?
Well, we think the car can go an hour 20. It's an hour 30 before the end of the race. We figured about 2 laps will be about 10 minutes under yellow. If we pull out another 2 minutes under 2 laps under yellow, we'll be able to finish fine.
Okay, IMSA have reported that you did have a penalty, an infraction in the pits. There was some excess fuel spillage. They stopped Sylvain from going out. Do you have to bring the car back in again?
No, that was a penalty for spilling a little fuel. We spilled a little fuel, so we had to pay the price. But that's okay. The way the car doesn't get as good a gas mileage as we hoped, but if we didn't come in for fuel that time, we would have lost the race. So we're going to have to roll the dice.
Okay, so they lost a little bit of track position, but didn't get hurt too bad. Back to you in the booth.
There is the look at Tremblay in the car, but he is trailing the number 20 of Peter Cunningham now under yellow at Watkins Glen.
Action continuing here at the Glen with Speed Vision's coverage of the IMSA Endurance Championship. The class leader and overall leader, number 1 in the pit lane, Cat Teasdale, has stepped out. The car pulling out with Andy Pilgrim, co-driver, now behind the wheel. That team currently well up in the points championship. These two drivers have been very effective. Cat Teasdale, some great moves early in the race. Andy Pilgrim now behind the wheel. Again, the tires, everything else seems to be working well. They're looking pretty good right now. Obviously, they can go all the way to the finish. I think this team very pleased at this point.
Well, it's odd to see a traffic jam at pit out, but because we're under yellow and these cars are so tightly punched, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and what they do here is they will, once the field is coming by, actually once the field comes into the last turn, the end of pit lane closes. So no one can leave pit lane in the middle of the pack and, you know, come out and blend. You don't come out and you blend, you wait for everyone to go by. So these cars are now at a distinct disadvantage because they've stopped later on.
Terry Lingner waving to the camera. He set up the camera positions. He knows where they are, so he's waving to us.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Terry's in a tough spot here because they waited during this yellow to stop. And now they're at the back of this pack. The cars like the RX-7 of Joe Vardy that stopped earlier are further up, and these guys are going to have to drive through a lot of traffic to get to the front.
Yeah, they certainly have the work cut out for them here in the back of the pack. You have the other classes of cars, the compact cars, the touring and sports class cars, which, you know, there's a pretty good speed difference between them, but still, it's traffic nonetheless that you got to work your way through.
Terry Lingner, some consider the best producer of motorsports and television from Lingner Group Productions out of Indianapolis, and no matter where he goes, he has his helmet bag in tow.
Well, Terry, I tell you, is a heck of a good driver. I had the pleasure of driving with him in '94 in the Firehawk Series, driving the BMW 325 IS, and I tell you, he really held his own. He really does a good job out there. Very talented driver as well as.
Keep talking nice things about Terry.
You know,
You'll always have a spot in the broadcast booth. You know it. He'll always have a job for you.
Well, Jeff knows who butters the bread. So.
That's right. That's right. You know, you got to be nice to the boss.
Well, let's see how the boss does once they drop the green flag and we go back to racing. And let's go back to the pit lane and talk to a gal that's just come in off the track. Greg?
Well, Gary, you talk about dropping the green flag. First of all, Kat, I don't know, what is it with you and starts? I mean, once again, you were back in 5th and you were darn near leading out of the first corner. You like it when it goes green.
Yeah, you know, when I started with the Wheel-to-Wheel Factory Pontiac team, they made me start. And I've always been used to closing, so I had to get used to it right away. And I actually did the Chicago Auto Show with Pontiac with Shelly Anderson, and she taught me a few little things about drag racing off the start. So, but you know, the cars are really strong. We've got a little bit of a problem with the brake pedal that we've had all weekend since we've been here, but the number 1 car seems to be running out there pretty good, and he's going to hopefully take it up front. We've got a long way to go through that pack of cars. It's been pretty nasty out there so far.
Obviously, the yellow's playing into the fuel scenario, but you guys had a tough incident yesterday with Andy out behind the wheel. As I understand it, this car had to be essentially rebuilt, so the crew doing a heck of a job.
Oh yeah, you know, the guys stayed up all night. What a fantastic crew they are. You know, while we got to go have dinner back at the Seneca Lodge, they were out here, you know, working away very, very quickly, as fast as they could, with porta pullers and kind of like things that look like the jaws of life type thing, trying to get the car back together for us. And you know what? It's really good. It honestly is. It doesn't like to turn quite as well to the right as what it had, but it definitely is turning to the left pretty quickly.
And of course, behind the wheel, Cat doing a great job. Andy there now. Let's check in a little bit further down pit lane with Calvin.
Okay, Greg, I'm here with Stu Hayner, driver number 32. Stu, you had the car up in the top 3. You barely broke a sweat out there this afternoon, obviously. How do you think the race is going to set up here? We've got about an hour or so left. You're running against the Mazda and the Mustang. How does the Pontiac compare under these conditions?
Well, typically, I think the Mustang and the Mazda have a little bit more for these sprint races. You know, the advantage that we have with the Pontiac is the durability. I mean, the car just goes and goes and goes and goes, and actually it takes 2 or 3 laps to get it going, as you may have seen. I mean, it falls back under the straightaways, and then as soon as everybody else starts sliding around, our car hooks up and it goes. We're out handling everybody, I think, around us. But now, you know, where typically the Mustang typically has so much straightaway speed, it uses a bit more brakes than we do. And the Mazda, you know, has had its problems too. They're, you know, they only have an hour-and-a-half race to go. So, you know, we've got our work cut out for us now, because the durability, I don't think is going to be a factor on this race anymore.
Obviously, experience counts for a lot in winning these races. We've got John Heinrichs behind the wheel now, won many races in this category. Do you think the drivers are going to be anxious to get going here? We're going to go green, hopefully, here in a couple of laps. And do you think that's going to come into play, the experience, being able to actually settle down quickly and trying to bring it home to the checkered flag?
Absolutely, and I couldn't ask for anybody better than John Heinrichs for a co-driver. You know, he definitely gets serious when he has to and takes good care of the car when we got to make it last. Right now, we don't have to make it last. He's got an hour-and-a-half to burn it up. As far as I'm concerned, you know, bring it home, you know, on a hook, as long as we get the checker flag first. But he's the guy that's he can go toward the front as long as, you know, as long as we don't get outpowered down the straightaways, which has been a little bit of the trouble so far today.
Okay, well, they've won 2 already this year. Let's see if they can bring it home for number 3. Back to you.
Back in 13th position right now, but Heinrichs is leading the point standings after 4 of 9 events. Let's talk about a title. This guy is the Chief Vehicle Validation Engineer for the Chevrolet Corvette. You need an extra large business card to get that title on.
Yeah, and John has been racing production-based racing cars for many, many years, has won many, many races. Legendary, actually, along with Don Knowles, in terms of winning 24-hour races of these kinds. So extremely experienced, and you know, will not put a wheel wrong.
So what's a driver do when his stint is over? He simply goes back to the motor home and gets something to eat and rest, and turns it over to the teammate and let him go the distance if he can. That's what we're going to do. Stay with us. To be in the broadcast booth watching this race and not being in the cockpit.
Well, I've been pretty fortunate lately. I get to do a fair amount of driving, so it's not too bad. And yeah, it's just great watching racing.
Yeah, but look at the 70 car there sneaking up. Tremblay on the inside move. That's the 20 car of Peter Cunningham. But coming up in the 70 car is Sylvain Tremblay, the fast qualifier. And he's going to make a move on the inside of his teammate. He puts the teammate now back another position. It's Bob Towery that falls to 4th position.
So I think our biggest question now is Lance Stewart, who's leading in the 7 car, an RX-7. We're not sure where he's at on fuel. We're pretty sure he's going to need to stop again. We know that the 2nd place Mustang and the 3rd place Mazda have stopped for fuel. They can go the distance. At least Joe Vardy thinks
the battle for the win could be right here.
Yeah, I think
could be white cars.
That's going to be a race right
this
there.
This could be the battle, and of course, it really is like a 1-hour sprint race. These guys can run very, very hard. And the guys that are back in the pack now that stopped late on that yellow are going to have a difficult time here carving their way through the field.
Well, of course, Peter Cunningham has 4 victories here at Watkins Glen. He won in 87, 89, 90, and 95, so he knows how to win on this racetrack.
Peter's a very experienced driver. A lot of different categories of racing over the years, and really does know how to go winning.
Look at this, a move for the lead. Can he get it? Yes. Oh, that was second. But again, they're battling for what could be the overall win right here.
Yeah, and Gary, I think that's what you would call in sprint car racing. That was the slide job you gave him there.
A little rub in there, too.
A little rub in it, and of course, the Mazda got in a little hot there. So, meanwhile, Lance Stewart's loving this because he's going to be able to leg out a little bit on these guys.
But it's a moot subject if he has to stop.
It is a moot subject, but you never know. With the amount of yellows we've had in this race, things could, change and develop. So you just never know.
This is what we've been waiting for all day. Some good close racing here. Whoa, a little bit of airtime over the curve there.
Down.
These guys are going for it. With only less than an hour left, if this thing stays green, it's going to be a great race. And who knows? I'll tell you, these guys are really going for position right now because if it goes to another yellow type situation, that's really going to cut down on their green flag time and, the amount of racing that they can get into.
It's interesting that we've had driver changes, but once that number 70 car got around the number 20 car, it's pulled out to about the same margin that we saw early on in the race.
Yeah, we saw when Joe Vardy was in that car earlier in the race, when he was leading, he was able to pull out a margin on just about everyone behind him, which included some Firebirds and some Mustangs, some BMW M3s. So that car is definitely a very quick car, and Sylvain Tremblay doing a great job as Joe Vardy was.
We've only done 32 laps under green here. 7 of those laps were also yellow flag. 7 laps were
32 laps total.
Right, yeah, 7 under yellow, right. Green, so I tell you, it's, whoa. Again, going for it
all the racetrack.
You got to, and again, they're just anticipating probably another yellow and just trying to improve the position the best they can.
One thing you'll notice as we take you around this racetrack, there's not a lot of runoff area. There's only a few feet between the racetrack and the concrete or the guardrail, so not a lot of room for a driver to make a mistake and slide off track and gather it in. When he goes off track, he's in the fence.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things you have to remember. These are not lightweight racing cars. These are production-based cars. They carry a lot of momentum. So we saw at the start, we saw that car that crashed in turn 1, and then we had that Mustang crash at the toe of the boot. Once they got off the racetrack, they keep rolling along.
Well, all those laps under yellow, we have finally settled into a great battle here. The sun is out at Watkins Glen. We'll come back and take in some more of this great competition. Back at the Glen, car 84, Eric Van Cleef. They're having a good ride. Started 44th. They're up to 12th right now. And as you said during that break, these guys are just going for it. The sun is out. No threat now of rain. They're going to be able to go perhaps the rest of the way green. And they're going for broke. So let's go back to the pit lane. Greg Kramer.
Well, Gary, I'm standing by with the crew chief, and it's his brother behind the wheel. It's Eric behind the wheel, and Andy Van Cleef with me. Andy, first of all, you guys okay to the end?
We can make it to the end, yes.
Well, you guys are in one heck of a battle. You've got number 30 right behind you, and I mean, we understand they're okay to the end too. So this is a classic mano-a-mano run to the end.
Yeah, it is. We had some rough times yesterday in qualifying. Had to start back in 6th, and they're right on our tail. We should have a good race. If everything stays decent, I think we can hang in there.
You've had some good runs in the past. Obviously, you'd like to, after the problems yesterday, like to bring this one home up front.
We'd love to. It'd be great.
Well, and they're certainly capable of doing it. Again, Eric Van Cleef behind the wheel. He has got company about 5 feet behind for the last number of laps.
You could see there on the left of the driver's side a flag, and I didn't catch which flag that was.
That's a blue flag indicating that there's faster cars wanting to overtake the slower cars. Passing flag.
Now, this is an interesting situation. This 84 car that we just saw on the screen is leading the sports class, and of course he's having to race with one of the slower grand sports cars, and that's the problem you get into with these different classes. We can see we're back at the front here with these two Mazda RX-7s with Lance Stewart leading. And I think Calvin has a story on this lead car.
So I just spoke to the crew chief on the number 7 car, Lance Stewart behind the wheel. Those guys say it's going to be very, very close, but they're willing to roll the dice and try and go all the way to the checkered flag. So there's going to be a lot of anticipation when it comes down to the last 5 or 10 minutes of this one. We'll have to wait and see.
Keep in mind that as that car burns off the fuel, the car gets lighter, the car gets faster. That's to his advantage. But if there's not enough fuel to go the distance, he's going to park it somewhere.
No, it's like kind of a moot point. I mean, there may come a time when they have to start, short shifting, trying to conserve some fuel. But with so few laps run under green, we're probably only about 8 or 9 laps now under green, that you know, they have plenty of tire left underneath the car. And as you mentioned, Gary, when the fuel burns off, the car gets lighter. It is going to be going faster.
Just a beautiful day it's turned out to be. The weatherman calling for a threat of showers and thunderstorms earlier with some partly cloudy skies. It's hot and chilly, but the sun has really broken through. And we've got a great competition after a very slow start. 25 laps under yellow in the first 32. We now have a dogfight out there.
Yeah, this is not very common in this form of racing, where essentially you end up with a 1-hour sprint race. You've got 2 very evenly matched cars here and 2 very evenly matched drivers, just going after one another as hard as they can, and that's just you know, that's the best kind of racing.
So Sylvain Tremblay, who was victorious with his co-driver Joe Varney at Road Atlanta earlier in the season, has set quick time for the last 3 outings, and right now he is all over the rear deck of your leader. Oops, just a little bit there.
Yeah, they're really pushing out there. You can see as he was picking up the throttle coming off the turn, got a little bit of wheel spin and into a bit of an oversteer condition. Back end came out on the car. I think what we're probably going to see is a lead change here. He's working on setting him up, was what he's doing, and he's just trying to find the right place, the right time on the track to go ahead and do it. And you know, he's just biding his time right now. It's still a little bit early. Got a good, you know, 45 minutes or so to go, so he doesn't have to make his move just yet.
And he's not going to force the issue.
No, he doesn't want to do that and go ahead and, you know, make a mistake possibly or anything like that. And, you know, what he possibly may be doing is, you know, looking for a hole, looking for an opportunity like that where you run into some traffic. You know, that makes a big difference right there.
And
you go.
He does it. Mayan knows. Can he hang it out there, though? Drag race down the front stretch past the pit lane, and I think maybe... No, I don't think he got it.
Well, we'll see at the end of the straight here. This is a long front straight, and it's going to be real close. Sylvain's down on the inside, which he's going to get him under braking. You know, nice pass there. And now what Lance can do is just stay close to him, you know, stay in that draft along the back straight, and try to do the same thing going into the inner loop.
Peter Cunningham's only 2 seconds back there in 3rd position, so we could have us a 2, 3, or maybe even a 4-car shootout over the final 45 minutes here at Watkins Glen. Stay with us. Working on lap 42 here at Watkins Glen, but more importantly, some 38 minutes remaining in the race. You can see right there your leader. That is Tremblay in the cockpit. He has yet to check out. So as we take a look at the top 8 right now, Stewart rides about 7/10 of a second back in second, and it's now number 20 car of Peter Cunningham, 2 seconds back there in 3rd. So once again, your leader, the battle's up in front, and he's not checking out.
No, it's real close still, and you know, he just can't seem to pull away probably as much as he'd like. We keep, you know, running into some traffic situations as well.
The traffic we've not had earlier because of all the yellow. Now we have.
We're getting this lapping deal taking place, and that slows you up sometimes when you get into it. You know, 2 cars can't occupy the same space at the same time, so it means you got to sometimes follow a car through a corner and end up sacrificing some speed onto the straight. Knowing how to get through traffic is a real skill, and some people are a master of it.
It's interesting to watch you guys here watching the action, because when you're in the race car, the track ends the back of your seat, basically, unless you're in one of the slower classes you have to watch the mirrors. When you're up here watching the monitors and watching the track action, you're watching action all over. So you're seeing a lot that obviously you never see in the race car.
Interesting little telltale sign there. We saw Sylvain Tremblay leaving turn 11 there, and as he was going down the main straightaway, saw the brake lights flash on 3 times, which means he's pumping up that brake pedal, which means he may be having some type of braking problem. And we saw him pull out a little bit on Lance Stewart earlier, and now Lance seems to be closing that gap up just a little bit. So it's possible that Tremblay has maybe run a little bit harder than he should be, and maybe he's having some type of braking problem.
Yeah, I think that's it, Jeremy. They're running real hard, and you know, that's going to start using the brakes up. You wouldn't think, because we've had so few laps under green, that it would be an issue, but as hard as they are running, you know, obviously it's becoming a problem.
So still about 35 minutes to go. A lot of questions yet to be answered. Let's go back to the pit lane and Greg Creamer.
Well, Gary, the gentleman who, of course, drove the number 20 Steed Autosports Mustang early on, maybe had the easier part of the day, is Sean Hendricks. And Sean, we talked earlier, you said the brakes were great, fuel should be fine. Looks like Peter's closing in a little bit. Has he got the old PD hunch going?
I don't know. It seems like when we're in traffic, we're able to close on some, but when we get a clear lap, the Mazda seems to pull away from us a little bit. I don't know if the Mazda can run the rest of the way that hard or not. I know we can, so hopefully Peter will be able to chase him down.
Why is that? What makes the Mazda so good on its own and the Mustang so much more effective in traffic right now?
When the Mazda has got the wick turned up like this, he can probably only run like an hour on a tank of gas. We took the green with like an hour and 4 to go. So if we go green the whole way, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep that pace or not. And in traffic, I'm sure he's just being a little more careful than what PD is right now, chasing him down.
And keep in mind, we were talking about that Mazda. We're seeing some brake lights flash, and he may have to be pumping them. And Sean says the Mustang's strong in that department.
Interesting, if you're playing poker, you can read the guy's poker face. When you're in the race car, you can't read their strategy. You don't know what they have, how the car is handling, if the brakes are going away, or if they have the fuel to go the distance.
Well, if I'm Lance Stewart and I'm in that car 7 and I'm following the leader and I see those brake lights flash on in the middle of the straightaway, I'm loving that. You know, that's a good telltale sign that there's a potential problem there. It doesn't mean he has any kind of serious problem, but it means that he is definitely not, he doesn't have total confidence in that brake pedal, and that's really important when you're running this hard.
And Lance also has to be aware that not too far behind him in third position is Peter Cunningham.
Peter's a real tough customer out here. Again, a lot of experience in these types of cars. You know, he's going to keep the pressure on, and you know, as Jeremy was saying about the you know, tapping of the brake there to pump him up before you get into the turns. Yes, you definitely want to stay right there on him and to keep pushing him hard to perhaps force the issue where he has to continue to use his brakes hard and ends up with a problem. So, you know,
Jenny, this ain't no problem.
You saw a lap car between first and second. That lap car is down between second and third as you're riding right along with Tremblay in the lead. He's working on lap 44, but again, this is a time race, so the laps are incidental. And let's go back to the pit lane. Calvin?
I just checked with the crew chief on Sylvain Tremblay's car, and he said there's absolutely no problems with the brakes. It's an operation that they use at this stage of the race just to pump the pedal up a little bit and give him a firm pedal when he actually gets down into the corners. But the driver has reported no problems. He seems as if they're on the way to checkered flag.
Well, we mentioned that Tremblay's only championship win came April 20th at Road Atlanta, co-driving with Joe Vardy. But he has demonstrated he is very fast in qualifying. Third straight race where he has started from the pole position, or at least his team has. He lets Joe Vardy start the race.
Well, I think everyone's in agreement. These RX-7s are very, very quick cars. And we know that they have a disadvantage in terms of fuel capacity and fuel mileage. And that's what would hurt them if this race had been green from start to finish. But of course, under the circumstances, the team did the right thing strategy-wise. Now we've got two RX-7s in the lead.
Of course, you also heard Sean Hendricks say that they took this green with about an hour and 5 minutes to go. And consequently, they're not sure if this number 70 Mazda can go that long without taking on a splash of fuel. Only time will tell. We have another 35 minutes of racing to go here at Watkins Glen.
Go ahead, make my day. What? He's tough, intense, relentless. Stop! Clint Eastwood. In movie after movie, he takes the law into his own very capable hands. And now you can watch his best movies anytime you want with Time Life Video's totally uncut, completely unedited Clint Eastwood collection. It's classic Clint, hard as flint.
What did you say? I said stick it in your...
You're a walking combat zone. People have a nasty habit of getting dead around you.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Call this number now for your first video. Eastwood's Oscar-winning masterpiece, Unforgiven. The special price is only $9.99.
I killed just about everything that walks or crawled at one time or another. And I'm here to kill you, little Bill.
And if you order by credit card right now, we'll send you the ultimate bonus video, Dirty Harry, absolutely free. Get the best of Eastwood's entire career, from its spaghetti western beginnings through Harry Callahan to his current directorial triumphs. A new video about every month and no club to join. Call right now and get it the easy way. He got it the hard way.
I think I love you. There's nothing wrong with that. With all due respect, sir, you're beginning to bore the hell out of me. You gotta ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Remember, your collection starts with Unforgiven, specially priced. And you get Dirty Harry free when you use your credit card.
Marvelous.
To order your Clint Eastwood Unforgiven video, call 1-800-469-2100. That's 1-800-469-2100. Use your credit card and receive Dirty Harry free. Or send $9.99 plus $3.49 shipping and handling to Clint Eastwood, Department 3, Richmond, Virginia, 23280.
Some 26 minutes remaining now as the race continues here for the IMSA Endurance Championship. And interesting development now near the front of the pack, because you have team drivers up there. One is leading and one is a lap back.
Yeah, and it looks like those top three cars were able to slice through that 71 car, which was the team car, to this leading car that Sylvain Tremblay is driving. And you can see now there's our front three cars all in the same shot. And
here comes the 71 car. So yeah, I thought maybe he would play a good teammate and block a little bit, but that was not the situation.
Right, you could do that. I mean, that's not really sometimes the sporting thing to do. You know, maybe it was the last lap of the race, or I don't know. It's really hard to say, you know, what's the right thing or what's the right move there. But everyone else did get around him, so we have a good three-car battle going on here.
Tremblay continues to lead. Lance Stewart, you got a glimpse of Lance in that number 7 car, and there's the number 20, Peter Cunningham, back there in third. That is the car that won the last outing the first weekend of May at Texas World Speedway. And of course, the car that leads won back in April at Road Atlanta. So your last two race winners are running 1 and 3, and stuck right in the middle in second position is Lance Stewart.
But we really should emphasize that a lot of this has to do with the fact that we've run so much of the yellow here, and the pit strategy and fuel strategies have really changed for a lot of these teams. And that's why we see most of the Firebirds, which are very competitive cars, further back in this field.
In fact, our first Firebird is back in the 5th position with John Heinrichsey, and probably about 25 seconds back. So the top 3 cars have really pulled away here.
In 4th position is Nick Ham in 0-1. Now he's lost contact with the leaders. At one point he was only about 9 seconds back there in 4th. Now he's dropped back to some almost 17 seconds back. So he's lost contact with the front 3. But the front 3 certainly have not lost contact with each other.
Yeah, I think that says a lot about how hard these guys are driving. You know, they're really matching each other in terms of lap times and pace. And it'll be interesting to see if any one of them bobbles a little bit, makes a mistake, because they're really driving on the limit, and also what happens in traffic.
Not to mention the fuel situation. There's still, you know,
tires and brakes.
Exactly. You still may have to conserve a little bit here at the end. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Mazda. We've heard from the, you know, the Mustang pits there that there's absolutely no problem at all there. But still some question regarding the Mazdas.
But you have a situation that has developed over the past probably 15 or 20 minutes that we didn't have early in the race. If we take a look at the leader of the touring class, that is John Green. John took over, did not start the car, but John now has the lead and is out in front in car 38 in the touring class. We have the traffic to contend with now that we did not have early on, because the early 5 full course yellows kept the pack bunched up. But now the leaders, besides worn tires and how much fuel we have left, how are the brakes, they're still negotiating heavy traffic.
Well, you know, I tell you, the thing that's interesting is that sometimes it's easier for the faster cars to get through the traffic. They have the power to get out around them. When you're driving in one of the touring class cars or a compact class car, you really have got to try to be as efficient as you can. You don't have the power to get past the slower cars down the straights. And what's kind of interesting is sometimes you may have to be out there on the track and have to deal with a car in a faster category. Let's say a sports class car, and you're in a touring class car, and you can't get by the sports class car on the straights, but he slows you up in the corner. So that's aggravating at times.
So you're saying the touring class cars, the compact cars, are really good in their passing, entering a corner, because they really can't overhaul somebody because of horsepower. Overall leader leader once again, Tremblay, the number 70. And let's go down trackside to Calvin Fish.
Okay, I'm here in the Tremblay Vade pit, and some concerned faces right now. They were hoping for another yellow. Remember, we discussed an hour and a quarter to go that it was a little early to go all the way, and some discussion about how far these Mazdas can go. And obviously now they're looking at that they may be 1 or 2 laps short on fuel. If they are short in the number 70, then certainly the number 7 is going to have problems because they pitted before the number 70. The number 20 could be in good shape at the end of this one if it continues to go green. Up to the pit lane, and Greg.
Well, Cal, exactly what you were alluding to, that fuel problem perhaps for the Mazdas. I'm with Rick Fairbanks, who started the 0-1 BMW M3, currently up to 4th. You got kind of counting on, aren't you?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. The Mazda has about a 1-hour fuel window. We've been green. If it goes green the rest of the race, it'll be about an hour and 5 minutes, so it's going to be close for them. It's going to be tough for us to win, though, because the Mustangs run a little bit longer than us, so it's going to be tough for us to get by Petey. But we're hoping the Mazda still have to come in for a splash and dash.
Obviously, by what you're saying, you don't think you do.
Well, like I said, we're going to see. We're still in there. Nick's pedaling real hard right now.
Started in 7th, up to 4th, looking for more.
So with the radios that these drivers are in contact with their crews, they're being told, hey, we don't think the guy up in front can go the distance. This is one advantage they have over the old pit board sign when they had no idea really what communications were coming from the pit lane.
You know, pit boards are kind of a thing of the past. You do keep one there in the pits as a backup just in case the radios were to go down. But yes, they're definitely going to relay that information back to Nick, and I'm sure he's well aware by now that the Mazdas may have a fuel problem and have to come in again. But that Mustang with Peter Cunningham is going to be an issue. They are running very strong, and certainly if the Mazdas come in, they're going to have a pretty good lead over Nick Ham.
But what's the strategy? If you're in the cockpit of the number 20 Mustang, do you think, well, I'll ride right here in 3rd on the rear bumper of Lance Stewart and see if these guys pit and wait till the last 10 minutes and make my move? Or do I go ahead and make my move now?
Well, what I would do is keep pressuring them, and knowing that they'd have to come in, keep the pressure on them, and that way they're going to have to keep burning up fuel.
Number 3 showing a lot of smoke.
That's David Murray, I believe.
David Murray is in that car. I think Cochran started the race, but Dave Murray's in the car right now, but showing lots of smoke from that Pontiac.
So it smokes as he gets into the turns. Yeah. That's a problem with these cars occasionally. The live rear axles that they have in them just have been a reliability problem over the years. They've really done a lot to try to alleviate that, but as you can see here today, David Murray in the number 3 Pontiac is having that problem.
But how disconcerting when you pull up behind a guy and see all that smoke coming off the rear deck as you enter a corner, not knowing if it's oil, it's going to spin him out and take you with it.
Well, that's right, and he's putting a lot out there. He's certainly sharing a lot of
right there as well.
mosquitoes out there today.
That's a battle for 6th position.
Yeah, and as we understand it, this is a problem with the oil seal on the rear end. So that rear end is puking oil out onto that left rear, and you can see David had a big slide there caused by that oil. And of course, eventually that oil is going to disappear. And once that oil's gone, that rear end is going to lock up, or something.
The rear is going to be gone too.
Sure, something big is going to happen. So it's only a matter of time for this car. It may be running okay now, but if David doesn't spin on his own oil, certainly something will go wrong with that rear end.
Nick Goat is that number 2 car right now, so it'll be advantageous for him to get around as soon as he could in case that rear end does lock up and take out both race cars.
That's absolutely right. And, in the longer races, what they will do, look at these guys just going at it, using all the road there. Longer races, what these teams will do is have a complete rear end assembly set up there in the pit lane. And what would happen is David would be coming in, and they change that whole rear end assembly in about 3 to 5 minutes. It's absolutely amazing to watch it done. They have quick release brake lines and really have practiced this over and over again because it's a problem.
Well, still a big question mark right there. How long that rear end will last before it goes away without oil. So we'll find out as you take a look at the top 4 here.
Lights at night, the grave digger's delight. Now, from Demented Minds, straight to your home VCR, the most awesome monster truck of them all, Grave Digger. Now, Grave Gravedigger the video brings monster truck thrills into your living room. See Gravedigger smashing, turning piles of cars into piles of pancakes. You'll go inside, you'll go underneath, you'll meet the men who built the ultimate machine. Gravedigger the video. You're in trouble. Get your credit card ready, because when it's your time to go, it is your time. The ultimate home monster truck video. Gravedigger the video.
Use your credit card and order Gravedigger the video, only $19.95 plus shipping. Call 1-800-480-5600 before it's too late. Don't miss this special monster truck offer. Call 1-800-480-5600 before it's too late.
With less than 15 minutes remaining here at the Glen, it looks like your fifth-place runner, John Heinrichsey, may be in trouble. Showing lots of smoke.
Yes, not sure if that's a rear end seal like David Murray has failing, but either way, it could spell trouble for John Heinrichsey.
His first win came here at the Glen in 1987 in a 24-hour event. This, by comparison, just a short sprint. But we're not sure he's going to make it to the finish.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, John Heinrichsey, you see all the oil on the back of that car. I don't think that's that rear end. It looks like something pretty serious. Not that the rear end isn't serious, but that's...
Now, the other car that we saw smoking, the team car, the 3 car, that was in 6th position, was smoking from the rear end.
Yeah, yes. Clearly from the left rear, but this looks more like it's from the motor. It's coming out under the center of the car. And this is a problem for John because he is our points leader. And, you know, you would think that these cars in a 3-hour race, it wouldn't be a big deal because they're used to these long races. But, and we mentioned, you know, John is not the kind of guy who's going to put a wheel wrong, but he can't control every aspect of this car in terms of mechanical preparation and problems that they might have. So.
And Murray, that we saw smoking earlier from that rear seal, he's been dropping off the pace. He's back to 14th position. But once again, we take a look at your leader. That is Sylvain Tremblay, and the question still persists: can that Mazda go the distance without stopping? We have Mazdas running 1, 2. We have a Mustang back in 3rd. So right now, Peter Cunningham aboard that number 20 Mustang is kind of hoping first and second half to stop.
Well, he certainly is, and you know, time's only going to tell here if these guys are going to be able to stretch it out and make the distance, or if they're going to have to come in for a quick splash, and obviously it's going to relegate them to
out of contention. Well, there's the 3 car. Finally, he has pulled off. David Murray was smoking earlier. We were concerned that that rear end might seize up. He lost a rear seal. He has pulled off. He dropped back to some 14th position. So obviously, probably a wise move on his part.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we knew it was only a matter of time. You know, with 15 minutes and losing the oil at the rate that rear axle was, so we knew he was not going to make it to the end. You know, better for him that the rear axle didn't lock up. You can see Lance Stewart coming through traffic there. Lance has been having a tougher time with the traffic. Sylvain seems to be hitting the brakes, you know, through traffic better, and Lance seems to be having a tougher time.
And that's a bit of racing luck, as you drivers would say. I'd rather be lucky than good. You hit the traffic right at the right spot, got to look back out to go on by. So, hey, we're set up for a great sprint race to the finish. Stay with us.
It's a battle of man against machine and driver against driver. But in the end, it's an all-out war against the starting line and the finish line. Field Drag Racing spill, chills and fury in Diamond P Sports chasing the lights. A look at the competition and competitors who brave a quarter-mile of pavement in the pursuit of winning. Chasing the lights takes you higher and faster than you've ever been. Experience the action for just $19.95. To order, call 1-800-651-8989 or write you the address on your screen. Watch it once and you'll know why they call it Chasing the Lights.
There is a place pilots talk about, but few have ever been. It's a place where training, aircraft design, indeed a pilot's ability to stay cool, are put to the absolute test. Presenting The Challenge of Flight, an exclusive new series that takes you where no aviation videos have ever gone before. Start with Final Approach. Be there when it all goes wrong, when raw power, fear, and the ejection seat is all the pilot has left. In incredible detail and first-hand accounts, you'll see what happens low and slow over a pitching carrier deck. Gear up with nowhere to go, and in the bunker when you test how bad it can be. Be an eyewitness to history as you watch exclusive footage declassified and released here for the very first time. Order your copy of Final Approach and go where few pilots have ever been before.
Call now to order a special preview video of the entire Challenge a Flight series for only $5 and get these aviator sunglasses free. Call now.
He's drag racing's king of speed, Kenny Bernstein. Follow his quest to go faster than ever in Diamond P Sports, the king of speed. From funny car to top fuel, NASCAR to the Indy circuit, Bernstein's dominance is legendary. The first dragster over 300 miles per hour, and one of the luckiest to walk away from some of racing's wildest moments. Experience the speed for just $19.95. To order, call 1-800-704-1133 or write to the address on your screen. Find out why they call Kenny Bernstein the king of speed.
Back at Watkins Glen, it's a full course yellow because your leader in the touring class, John Green, has crashed. That will bring out a early checkered flag. Will end this race about 7 minutes early. But for John Green, that broke a string of no DNFs since 1990, 45 races. Looks like the wheel may have come off before he made contact.
Really hard to tell what happened there.
There's a checkered flag as Tremblay waving with both hands from the cockpit. So the question we had became a moot subject. Could he go the distance?
That was the big question. Where the Mazda is going to be able to make the distance.
And there's a look at Joe Vardy. Congratulates the crew as he picks up his 23rd win overall, his second of the season. And so the Mazdas finish 1-2. Lance Stewart goes in the second. And there is third place, Peter Cunningham. So doggone it, we had a lot of questions we were going to answer, and we didn't get them answered.
Well, it was fixing for a great finish. Unfortunate what happened. We had a very eventful day here as far as cautions were concerned, and that really played into the outcome of the race, obviously.
Well, of course, once the course went yellow, that would have taken care of any need to stop for a splash and go, and they said, hey, we're not going to run the last 6 or 7 minutes of the yellow. Let's just throw the checkered flags and stop it right there.
And
so,
of course, you know, those guys had said, you know, as Joe Vardy said when we interviewed him, they were expecting another yellow and hoping for another yellow. And, you know, we ran about an hour there under green, just about 1 hour, and finally we got a yellow. So it's not unexpected.
Well, another problem right there, another car off the track.
That looks like one of Lance Stewart's team cars right there.
77 car, heavy damage on the rear. So when did that happen? Robert Baxter or Brad Krieger, I think Brad Krieger was in the car at that particular point. Oh my, well let's go down to Calvin Fish. Calvin?
Okay, I'm here with Joe's. Sylvain brought it home for you. Obviously a little tight on Phil. This yellow flag, caution period at the end probably saved you bacon there.
Yeah, we were going to make it within a lap, and that yellow flag just helped us out. So thank God and everybody that helped us, and the team's great, and we had a great time.
You have got to be doing great in the points now. That's 2 victories this season. That puts you right at the top there.
Yeah, I think I still may be a little shy right now. It depends on where John Heinrichs finishes, but I'm happy with it.
Great job by Joe Vardy and Sylvain Tremblay.
Yeah, and for Joe, his 23rd victory, which moves him up into a 3-way tie for second on the all-time win list with John Green and Paul Hacker. Of course, Terry Irwood has 26. We'll come back and visit with our victors after this. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. Once again, overall victory goes to number 70, Tremblay and Vardy. As we'll show you the top 20. In fact, the first 19, first 18 were all the Grand Sport Division cars, which is as expected.
Absolutely. Those are the fastest cars, and, you know, in a short race like this, they're definitely going to be up front.
And you can see a good mix of different makes of cars. You know, a real mix here between BMW, Porsche, Ford, Mazda, and of course the Toyota winning the sports class in 19th position.
Well, let's go to Victory Lane and Greg Creamer.
Thank you very much, Gary. And boy, I'll tell you, these guys put in a heck of a drive. You've always been fast, Sylvain. You got a little bit of luck today. 2 out of the last 3. Got to be thrilled.
We're just so excited. I mean, it's finally coming together. And Joe said that, you know, we'll spray champagne and to look towards the goal. And here we are. Can't believe it. I want to thank Mazda and everybody who supported me, Bob Tarry, and the Speed Source crew, my crew chief David Haskell, my girlfriend Carol. It's a dream come true once again. I just want to keep doing this. I just can't believe it. It doesn't get any better.
Well, again, absolutely great result for you two. And, of course, there's a lot of happy winners here, and Calvin is standing by with a couple others.
Well, I'm here with the winners of the sports class, Eric Van Cleef and Bob Henderson. Bob, I understand you started racing here at the Glen in 1963, probably got more miles than anyone, and it certainly paid off today.
You bet. Yeah, it's been a long time winning a pro race here, but we did it today.
Okay, well, a great drive, great help from Eric Van Cleef. He did the last stint there, and the Toyota Supra brings it home for victory in the sports class. Up to the booth and Gary.
So once again, gentlemen, we had a great race once we had a chance to go racing. Unfortunately, we had some questions that never got answered because of that late yellow, which then produced the early checkered flag.
Yeah, and that really was a 3-hour race that became a 1-hour sprint race, and that's as close as you'll get to a sprint race with these cars.
Well, sometimes that's what they say, you know, that's racing, and sure, we would have liked to seen 3 hours of green racing. That would have been something, but you got to take what you can get sometimes.
And of course, John Green lost that long streak of no DNFs after 45 races. Had a wheel come off, clouded the outside retaining wall, so his race ended early. But once again, a great drive for Sylvain Tremblay and his co-driver Joe Vardy as they take the victory, the second of the season, and puts them right up in the points chase for the overall championship. So that will wrap it up from the Glen for Jeremy Dale, Greg Creamer, Calvin Fish, and Jeff Perner. I'm Gary Lee. We thank you for joining us. So long from Watkins Glen.